Marhaba, my name is Megan and welcome to Wanderlust Voyages. We are here to tell you all about Morocco, from the cities to the culture to the cuisine. If you'd like to learn more about Morocco, please be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you're notified of all of our uploads. Today I want to dive back into some Moroccan cooking videos, and we're going to start off with something pretty easy. Now, this is a type of hot sauce that is made down in the Rissani region. Sometimes it is referred to as a Tafilelt hot sauce, and it is incredibly spicy, but so good. It is traditionally made in a very large mortar and pestle that is made out of wood. It almost looks like a giant butter churn, and you use that to process the peppers and then you let it preserve. And much like preserved lemons, after a while get that very soft rind where you can just eat the whole thing. That is what you're going to have happen in this as well. And one of the beautiful things about it is that it is very adjustable. The heat level will depend on what blend of peppers that you use. You can use whatever ratios of spicy to mild peppers you would like to make it as spicy or as mild as you would like. And of course, this is something that goes great with pretty much everything. Tagine, fish, meat, vegetables, all of it. So without further ado, let's get into the kitchen. In order to make our hot sauce, we just need a few simple ingredients. We need about 1 pound of chili peppers. Now, this can be any combination of peppers you would like depending on how hot or mild you would like it. I use about half Cito peppers and half hot red chilies. You'll also need 1 lemon, about 1/4 cup to 1/3 cup of olive oil, 10 to 15 cloves of garlic, depending on how garlic heavy you would like it to be, a tablespoon each of salt, cumin, oregano, and za'atar. Of course, if you don't have za'atar, you can always leave that out. Now, traditionally, this is made by using a mortar and pestle. Down in Rissani, they usually have a very large one where they can process an entire batch at once. However, I just have a very small one, so I process it in multiple batches. If you do not have a mortar and pestle, or you don't want to do it that way, you can do this in a blender. Just be sure not to blend or process it too much because you do want those nice large pieces. Now, of course, we are working with hot peppers, so it is always good to have a pair of gloves. So to begin, we are going to just put some of our peppers in, take off the stems, break into a couple of pieces. With this, I usually do, 2 or 3 pieces. And of course, make sure all of your produce is washed and dried in advance. This one doesn't break quite as well. Of course, so feel free to use a knife if you prefer. I just like to use my hands, makes it a little bit easier. And of course, you don't want to fill this too high, otherwise you're going to have it all coming out and you're not going to effectively crush your peppers. So now that I have it roughly halfway full, I am going to put in a couple cloves of garlic, and then I am just going to mash this up. Okay, so looks like we're getting pretty good. You'll see some pieces are still quite large, and that is absolutely fine. It's hard to get it very fine if you're using this method, so that is what is traditionally done. And of course, The benefit of using the mortar and pestle means that you're also releasing those oils a little bit better. You're enhancing the flavor. Just like if you press garlic, it does release a little bit more than if you mince it. So now that we got our first round done, I'm going to put it in the bowl and then get all of the rest of these processed, and then we will season it. Okay, we have all of them ground, and if your peppers are a little bit tougher skinned like some of mine were, sometimes you have to do more of just a circular motion with it. I did find that when I made this with habaneros, it was definitely easier than the red peppers. So we're going to put all of this in a bowl. This is also why I use gloves, so I can just use my hands to do this. Do not use your hands if you don't have gloves. You will not be able to touch your eye or any other sensitive mucous membrane for a few days. So there are all of our peppers. Now we want to add the lemon. So just cut off the tips of the lemon, cut it in half lengthwise, quarter it, and then we're just going to thinly slice it. The goal for this is for these lemons to preserve so that they can be eaten whole with the rest of the hot sauce. All right, so our lemon is going to go in, and then our spices, and of course you can season this according to your taste. If you want it a little more salty, a little less, some other flavors, that is totally fine. And then give it a good mix. When you have it all well mixed, you're going to add your olive oil. Now, you don't want this to be super oily, but you also don't want it to dry out while it is fermenting. So when I did the habaneros, it definitely could have used a little bit more oil. It seemed to absorb a little bit more. So you just want to make sure it's all nice and wet. So that looks good. Now, we need to put it in a jar. And this is where I'm going to ask for assistance because I've got stuff all over my hand. So we're just going to pack this in the jar, and you don't want too big of a jar. Just like when you are making preserved lemons, you don't want a lot of extra space. So it looks like I have a little too much for this jar, but I don't want to have it, like I said, I don't want too much space or else it will take longer to ferment. So I'm going to add this to another jar and then we will be good. All right, so now that it is all nicely packed into jars, I'm just going to even this out a little bit more. Now we have some to give away to some friends. Of course, before you seal it, always be sure to clean up the jars because you want it to seal nicely. You're going to put these in a cool, dark place and leave them to ferment for at least a week, but it's going to be even better after 2, maybe 3 weeks. Of course, once it is done and you open it, keep it in the refrigerator and enjoy it with tagines, with your eggs, anything you would want hot sauce on. Bon appetit!